My name is Mike. I'm 32 years old now, and I need to tell you about something that happened to me 8 years ago in a mountain cabin. Something that I've tried to put behind me for years. Something that I still have nightmares about. Something that proved to me that the most dangerous people aren't always the ones you see coming. Sometimes they're already inside waiting for you. If you love true horror stories about real survival and moments that will absolutely terrify you, hit like and subscribe right now. And keep listening, because the night I borrowed my uncle's house in the mountains will teach you that sometimes the safest place is the most dangerous. Sometimes the person hiding in your bedroom is the person you never expect. I need to start by telling you about what was happening in my life before that night. I had just ended a relationship of more than 10 years. 10 years. A decade of my life with someone I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. We had talked about marriage. We had talked about kids. We had made plans. And then one day it all fell apart. I don't want to go into all the details of what happened. It's painful even now. But the bottom line is that I needed to get away. I needed to clear my head. I needed to be somewhere where I wouldn't see her. Somewhere where she couldn't find me. Somewhere where I could just be alone with my thoughts and process what had happened. My friends were telling me to go out. They were telling me to hit the bars. They were telling me to meet new people. That's the usual advice you get when you go through a breakup. Go out. Have fun. Distract yourself. Move on. But that wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be around people. I didn't want to pretend to be okay. I didn't want to smile and laugh when I was falling apart inside. So I came up with a different plan. I called my uncle and asked him if I could borrow his house in the mountains for a couple of days. A spiritual retreat, I called it. A place where I could get away from everything. No signal, no internet, no cell phone service. Complete isolation, complete peace and quiet. My uncle said yes immediately. He was always supportive like that. He understood what I was going through. He had his own relationship issues over the years. I told my friends about my plan and they were skeptical. My ex-girlfriend Amanda was particularly vocal about it. I remember her standing outside my apartment building when I was about to leave. She'd come to say goodbye, or maybe to try to convince me to stay. I don't remember exactly. She asked me if I was sure about this decision. She said going off to hide in the mountains wasn't her idea of something that could do me good. She said it was impulsive and maybe reckless. I told her it made sense to me. I told her I knew it would help. I told her I just needed a few days to myself and then I would come back and we could talk things through. Maybe we could work things out. Maybe there was still hope. She didn't look convinced. She told me not to come crying to her house if I was being chased by a yeti. She made a joke about my uncle probably having yetis in his closet. It was supposed to be funny, but there was sadness underneath it. I told her I wouldn't even meet my own shadow up there, that I would be completely alone, that it was just what I needed. The drive to the cabin took more than 5 hours. I drove through the city and then out into the suburbs and then into the countryside. The landscape gradually changed from urban to rural to wilderness. I drove past farms and small towns and eventually up into the mountains. The cabin was located in a remote area of the mountains. There were no neighbors within walking distance, no other houses visible from the property, just trees and forest and mountains stretching out in every direction. It was exactly what I was looking for. When I arrived, everything was as I expected. My uncle had described it accurately. Despite being small, the house was nicely decorated. The furniture was kept in perfect condition. It looked like my uncle had invested some time and money into making it comfortable. It was a place where someone could come to escape, a place of refuge. But when I walked in and checked my phone, I realized something. The phone still had a signal. Despite being in the middle of nowhere, my cell phone was picking up a signal. I'd been hoping for complete disconnection. No way for anyone to reach me. No way for Amanda to contact me. No distractions. My phone buzzed almost immediately. My uncle was calling. He had somehow known I'd arrived. Maybe he had seen my car drive past, or maybe it was just timing. I answered, and he asked if I had made it to the house okay. I said I had just gotten there. He asked if I had been able to get inside. I told him, yes, the key worked, and I was able to get in fine. He asked if I had cameras at the house. I said no, I didn't think so. He said that would have been a good investment, but unfortunately he had never installed any. Then he asked me why he couldn't hear my friends in the background. He asked if I had gone with my friends like I told him I would. I felt a little guilty at that moment. I had lied to my uncle about going with friends. I had told him I wouldn't go into the house unless I went with some friends. He was one of those conspiracy paranoid people who had all these weird theories about the cabin. He thought there might be aliens hiding in it, or government surveillance equipment, or something equally ridiculous. So I'd made up a story about bringing friends along to make him feel better about me being there. I told him that, yeah, my friends were there, but I'd asked them to step outside so they wouldn't start making jokes while I was talking to him. I felt like an idiot lying to my uncle, but I didn't want to hear his conspiracy theories. My uncle seemed to accept that explanation. He told me to take care of the house and to call him if I had any problems. He said he hoped I would find some peace up there and that I would be able to sort out my situation. After I hung up, I thought about how little use the house would have been if I'd actually had to share it with friends. I needed to be alone, completely alone. That was the whole point of coming here. I spent the rest of that day exploring the cabin and settling in. I unpacked my bags. I checked out all the rooms. I looked at the books on the shelves. I opened the windows and let in the fresh mountain air. It smelled like pine trees and earth, and something clean that I couldn't quite identify. As the sun started to set, I felt myself beginning to relax for the first time in weeks. The stress of the breakup, the sadness, the confusion, all of it started to ease a little bit. I was here. I was safe. I was alone. I made myself some dinner from the groceries I had brought. Nothing fancy, just something simple. I sat on the porch and watched the sun dip below the mountains. The sky turned orange and pink and then purple and then dark blue. The stars came out. More stars than I had ever seen before. The city sky is always polluted with light so you can barely see the stars. But here in the middle of nowhere, the stars were incredible. Thousands of them, maybe millions. I sat there on the porch, drinking a beer and looking at the stars, and I felt like maybe this trip had been a good idea. Maybe I could heal out here. Maybe I could figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Eventually, I got tired and went inside. I found the bedroom and lay down on the bed. The sheets were clean and smelled like fabric softener. I fell asleep almost immediately. The kind of deep, peaceful sleep I hadn't had in weeks, but it didn't last long. I woke up in the middle of the night to a strange noise, a sound that I couldn't immediately identify. It pulled me out of my sleep. My eyes snapped open and I was suddenly alert. The room was dark. The moonlight was barely coming through the window. I could make out the general shapes of things, but I couldn't see much detail. I listened carefully. The noise came again. It sounded like Rain maybe, or wind. I thought it was probably raining, so I tried to relax and go back to sleep. But before I could drift off, something else happened. A beam of light hit my eyes and alerted me. I opened my eyes and realized it was the moonlight shining directly on my face through the window. The angle of the moon had changed, and now it was pointing directly at me. I tried to continue sleeping, but paranoia had started to creep in. I couldn't convince myself that everything was fine. My mind was starting to race with possibilities. Was someone out there? Was someone watching the house? Was someone watching me? I tried to tell myself I was being ridiculous. I was in the middle of nowhere. There was no one around for miles. No one knew I was here except for my uncle and Amanda and my friends, and none of them would come all the way out here, but the paranoia wouldn't leave me alone. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, so I got out of bed. I got dressed quickly. I walked to the window and looked outside. The moonlight illuminated the forest. I could see the trees and the path leading away from the cabin. I could see the driveway where I'd parked my car. I couldn't see anyone. There was no sign of any person out there. I told myself I was being paranoid, and I went back to bed. I lay down and pulled the blanket up to my chin. I tried to relax. I tried to go back to sleep. But I was about to pull the blanket over my head when something froze me with fear. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I made a discovery that made my blood run cold. There was a dirt trail on the floor. It started at the window. At the bottom of the window frame where the outside world met the inside of my bedroom. And it ended under my bed. Someone had come in through the window. Someone had crawled across the floor. Someone was now hiding under my bed. The realization hit me like a physical blow. My entire body went rigid. The fear was so sudden and so intense that every fiber of my body translated into pain. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I could barely breathe. My mind was racing. What should I do? Should I jump out of bed and run? Should I grab something to defend myself? Should I try to call for help? Should I confront whoever was under the bed? The only thing I could think of was to take a big leap from the bed and start running. Maybe grab a knife from the kitchen, maybe hide or drift away until daylight when I could see better and when someone might come to help me. But I hesitated for just a fraction of a second too long. I tried to jump out of the bed to the side where I thought was safe. But as I moved, the bed shifted. Someone grabbed the edge of the bed from underneath and flipped it up slightly, just enough to throw me off balance. I was falling. I was hitting my head against the wall. The pain was sharp and immediate. And then something emerged from underneath where the bed had been. A tall, white, gangly man stood up from the mess of sheets and blankets. He had a knife in his hand, a big knife, the kind of knife you would use to kill someone. His blue eyes were wide open. They were staring at me with unwarranted anger, with a coldness that I had never seen in another human being. This was someone who had done this before, someone who knew what he was doing. Despite being very skinny, this man had a lot of strength. I could see it in the way his body was positioned, the way his muscles were tense, the way he held the knife. He knew some martial art. He knew how to fight. He knew how to hurt people. I realized in that moment that I was in real danger. This wasn't a home invasion where someone wanted to rob me. This was something worse. This was someone who wanted to hurt me. Someone who had come here specifically to do that. I raised my hands in surrender. I was terrified. I was crying. I was begging. I said, please. I said, don't kill me. I said I couldn't see your face. I said, please just don't kill me. I was lying. I told him he could take everything. I told him I wouldn't move. I told him he could tie me up if he wanted to. Just please don't kill me. The man smiled. It was the most disturbing smile I've ever seen. There was no warmth in it, no humanity in it, just darkness. He said, "You didn't see my face and you promised not to move." He said, "Kid, I swear I'm not interested in justice." He said, "If you don't believe me, I don't have a landline here." He said, "Take my cell phone and my car." He said, "Anything you want, just please let me live." The man laughed. He said, "What a kind and cooperative boy you are." He asked me where the valuables were in the house. I tried to tell him. I said, "Move the dining room furniture and you'll see a hole." I said, "I have money stored there just in case." I didn't finish the sentence because something terrible happened. The man began to cut my forehead with his knife. He traced a horizontal line across my skin. The pain was sharp and immediate. Blood started to run down my face and into my eyes. He said, "Sorry to interrupt your kid, but you were boring me." He said, "I was telling you where you could find my money." He said, "You see, I have no intention of robbing you." He said, "The only reason I have to visit you is to see you bleeding." I asked why. I was crying and terrified, but I asked why. Why would someone come here to hurt a complete stranger? And then he said something that made my blood run even colder. He said, "Because I saw you." He said, "I saw you while you were pumping gas on the way here." He said, "To be honest, you have a face of a squealing pig." He said, "I love it." With that said, the man slowly plunged the knife into my hand. He twisted it deliberately. The pain was indescribable. It was like nothing I'd ever felt before. Meanwhile, I was still not opening my eyes completely. I was keeping them mostly shut because I didn't want to see his face. I was keeping them shut because fear had taken over my whole body, and I was frozen in place next to a person who had the intention of taking my life. He was torturing me. He was enjoying it. He was smiling while he did it. I thought of my family. I thought of my friends. I thought of Amanda. I thought about how I would never see any of them again. I thought about how my body would probably be found in this cabin weeks from now when someone came to check on my uncle's property. But then, something happened. The man must have gotten tired of the torture. He released the knife and began to beat me savagely. He was using his fists and his elbows. He was hitting me in the face and the body and anywhere he could reach. I could only cry and beg for mercy. I couldn't fight back. I was too weak. I was too afraid. I was too injured. But in a moment of clarity, I opened my eyes and noticed something. The man's eyes were closed. He was throwing his head back in ecstasy. He was enjoying the moment so much that he had closed his eyes. That's when I knew I had a chance. I used all my strength to push him down. I gathered every bit of energy I had left, and I pushed as hard as I could. The man fell to the ground and I ran. I didn't look back. I didn't think about where I was going. I just ran. But I was bouncing around the room trying not to fall. I'd lost a lot of blood and received many blows, so I was very dizzy and disoriented. The room was spinning. My vision was blurry. My body was in tremendous pain. I felt like the man was behind me. I felt like he was about to catch me. But when I turned around, he was still on the ground. He was laughing. He was laughing like he was enjoying a show. Like me running for my life was entertainment for him. I didn't waste time wondering about it. I just kept running. I got out of the cabin without grabbing my car keys or anything else. I just ran into the night, into the darkness, into the forest. Behind me, I could hear the man's taunting cries from the cabin. He said, "Run, little piggy." He said, "Fly to your freedom." He said, "Don't stumble or you might hit your head." He said, "And who knows what the evil killer will do to you." He said, "I'll be waiting for you when you want to come back." He said, "I'll always be at home." I ran until my lungs felt like they were going to burst. I ran until I couldn't run anymore. I ran until I found a highway and flagged down a truck driver who called the police. The police took me to the hospital. I was treated for my injuries. I was given pain medication and antibiotics. My hand was bandaged. My forehead was stitched. I was covered in bruises. The police investigated the cabin, but when they arrived the next day with me riding along in a police car, no one was there. The criminal, a known patient from a nearby insane asylum who had escaped, had even gone to the trouble of cleaning the house. There was no blood. There was no evidence. There was nothing to prove that what had happened to me was real. But I knew it was real. I knew what had happened. I knew who had done it. The police eventually found him 3 months later at another cabin in a different mountain range. He had done the same thing to another person, this time a woman. But she hadn't been as lucky as me. They found her body hidden in the woods. He's in prison now. He's serving a life sentence. But every time my uncle mentions an alien or some conspiracy theory, I laugh. I laugh because I know that having an encounter with a human, a real human with evil intent, could be much worse than any alien or supernatural threat. That experience changed me. It made me realize how fragile life is, how quickly everything can change, how the person you think is safe might be the most dangerous. I'm still dealing with the trauma. I still have nightmares. I still get anxious when I'm alone, but I'm alive. And that's something I'm grateful for every single day.